All right, I am here with Stevie Ray, PFL lightweight. We'll be back in action April 14th. Stevie, a big fight coming up, obviously. How are you feeling going into this one?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Feeling good. Just like I said, making a quick coffee while we're doing this wee bit, and then I'll head upstairs and it'll be a bit quieter.
All good, man. I wanted to talk to you about the fight, obviously, and then the news came out last week, and there's some things that are more important than fighting or careers or anything, and that one of those would obviously be family. And you know, you've talked about your daughter Mila's health issues before, and then we saw, the need for surgery and the GoFundMe campaign, and I'm just wondering if you can speak to the reaction that you got from that campaign and kind of the outpouring of support that we saw come from that. Like, just what can you say about that?
Yeah, so it's been going on for a few years. Obviously, Mila's condition. Recently, it's changed a little bit, and there's been some, changes. But 4 to 5 weeks before the final last year, the Mercier fight, we were unexpectedly told that something was found in the MRI scan, that Mila had a abnormality of her brain. It was cortical dysplasia, and that basically she needs brain surgery to remove it. So yeah, it was a lot to take. Obviously, it was 4 weeks before the final, so that was tough mentally trying to deal with that and the fight. But yeah, done the fundraiser to try and go private to get the surgery done quicker, because we were told by the NHS that it wouldn't be until the end of the year. We've then done the fundraiser. It went viral and been a bit surreal, to be honest. And then, and then even more complications now, because now the NHS have came forward and said that they can actually do the surgery sooner now. So yeah, it's all been up in the air. But yeah, I mean, positively, it means that Mila is going to be getting surgery soon now. And it's obviously it's no before this fight, so I could at least focus on this fight and then take it from there.
Well, it's great to hear. It was great to see the support. I mean, you surpassed your goal on GoFundMe pretty quickly. And if I'm not mistaken, so basically originally you guys were treating this, or the doctors told you this was epilepsy, and then the MRI result came up just before the final?
Yeah, so it is epilepsy. So that is what she's got. It's epilepsy, and then she got a new MRI because they were trying to figure out, like, Mila has epilepsy, but 80% of people that have epilepsy get medication, and the medication will control the seizures and sometimes eventually actually grow out of it. So yeah, like, so that would be fine. But 20% of epileptic patients, the medicine will never control it because they're like medicine intolerant. Or it's just a bit more. Uh, I think it's called like refractory epilepsy, where medicine's not going to work basically, and Mila's that 20% where medicine's never going to fully control it, because she'll have medicine and it'll work for a little while, and then it stops working, and she needs the dosage up, and then eventually that's just a repeat process, and eventually, obviously, she ends up getting to the maximum dosage, and then that's when it's a problem. So yeah, they were doing more investigations, and the latest MRI scan that was done in October came back, and they found that she's got cortical um, cortical dysplasia, type 2, and that surgery is needed um, to remove that part of the brain, which is the frontal lobe. So yeah, we were obviously really shocked, weren't expecting it. it was an appointment I actually wasn't at. My wife went to because I was on fight camp. Like I said, 4 weeks to the final, and she just said she would let me know what they say. With the routine appointment, see if there's a change of medication or whatever. And then she hit me when I was at training. I'd just finished. Obviously, I got a phone call and my wife was crying, and she told me that the news, and then I ended up crying. It was tough.
Well, obviously, one of the worst nightmares a parent can have. But great news with the outpouring of support. Great news with the surgery coming sooner, which is going to be good for her. How aware of the response is Mila? I mean, she's what, 7, so she's probably not spending any time on the internet. But I mean, in terms of some of the nice messages, have you been able to kind of pass any of that along?
Yeah, well, I mean, she's because of the brain condition, she's a little bit like behind as well. Where she's got learning difficulties because of this a little bit. Like she's behind in school and stuff. But I mean, she's obviously aware to a certain extent what's going on. She knows she's getting brain surgery. She knows she's had, like we've told her, obviously the amount of love and support she's had that's been overwhelming from everybody in the world, really, mostly the MMA community, but even from complete strangers. I think, like, a lot of people that have kids themselves, or nephews, nieces, whatever, they've just really heard our story and felt that they wanted to donate. And like I said, it went a little bit viral. It's felt surreal. Some famous people and strangers, everything. It's just been mental. It's been really surreal.
Well, we saw Dana White contribute. We saw Paddy Pimblett contribute. We saw Sean O'Connell contribute. I imagine that's just a wonderful feeling. And with something like this, how do you juggle this? Like you found out before the final. Now you've got a new season starting. I mean, how do you kind of juggle that and maintain focus, or does fighting become a refuge of sorts?
Yeah, if I'm honest, like after the last fight, it would have been good to win the million and then retire. If I'm really honest, but it's just one of those ones. Like you get knocked down, you got to get back up again. For one, sometimes life gets in the way. Other people. We're not the only one with like an issue in life. There's loads of people out there struggling. And I'm just looking at my phone charge. I need to go and put it on charge before it dies. But yeah, I mean, there's loads of people out there struggling that you don't know about as well. And aye, and like I said, ideally, I didn't do this year. I could be there for Mila for the surgery and take time off. But like I said, life goes on. Still got bills to pay. And yeah, I mean, it's hard, obviously, juggling fighting. I mean, fighting's hard alone. Never mind having to deal with 4 kids, and one that's going through some issues. But I mean, you just got to get on with it. I mean, I believe I'm tough mentally, physically. I do think I maybe been biased, but I think a lot of people would have gave up. Done something different, but I'm just using it as motivation. I mean, I'm going to just try and smash this year, and take it from there. Like fighting alone, so even going separate from Mila and everything, like fighting's tough. It's a tough job. The biggest part for me is the financial security. That's tough. The amount I've done in this sport, I still struggle at times. Still struggle, worry about paying bills and It's not like a lot of other sports. Like if anybody had done what I've done in this sport in another sport, they'd probably be fucking rich. I'm no rich, and yeah, it's tough. It's tough going, but I think this might be my last year. This might be my last year, unless the only thing that would really want me to fight again next year is if I got like big names, give me guys like Nate Diaz or, like when I fought Anthony Pettis. Give me those big names. Give me Jake Paul. I'll box him, then fight him MMA. Stuff like that. But I'll see how I feel at the end of the year. But yeah, that's the plan. I think that this will be my last year, and then the problem is though, it's like, what do you do when you're done? When you invest your life into someone to then do something different. So it'd be cool if I could do something else that's related, like maybe PFL can give me some sort of job, or you know, in the sport. That would be cool. But we'll see what happens.
Well, there is the PFL Europe. Hopefully, some opportunities there. You mentioned the big fights. Nate Diaz, obviously a free agent right now. You had the Pettis fights, and I was going to ask you about those. I mean, getting those two big wins over Anthony Pettis, former UFC champ, former WEC champ. What did you take away from those performances?
So taken away from those fights, it was just my confidence. It's just knowing that I kind of knew I could do that before. Like when I beat Michael Johnson, even after I beat Joe Lozon, Ross Pearson, like I started believing in myself. I'm like, because I used to look at them like, they were superstars, and I was fans of those people. So when I fought them, and then when I beat them, it always just made me remember, like I could hang there with these guys that are the best in the world. But and then you maybe lose a fight, and obviously I retired partially after the Michael Johnson fight. I came back and fought Alexander Martinez and made some mistakes, lost a decision. I had a lot of ring rust and stuff, and you start doubting yourself, like you know, if you can still do it or whatever. But yeah, then I got two huge wins over Pettis. I submitted him, and then I beat him by decision, proved it wasn't luck. And yeah, and then obviously I got caught in the final. But even before I got caught, I was winning that round. I just got caught by a shot, can happen to anyone. And yeah, I just know I could fucking fight any given day. I'm tough. I could fight anybody. And like you said, Anthony Pettis, former UFC champ. Obviously, he's getting a bit older and stuff now, but before I fought him, he had just got a quick six, beating Miles Price. So obviously, he could still got a lot of skills. Still in there. He just beat Roy Jones Jr. in boxing. So it shows you because a lot of people, obviously, when you beat somebody like him, they're like, he's past it, and that's why you won, and they kind of belittle your win. But yeah, I mean, I know, I could win this year. I could, but yeah, one fight at a time. Natan Schulte, he's getting it next.
Absolutely. And, when we talk about Natan Schulte, obviously a former champion, we've seen plenty of him in the PFL, but what do you make of him as an opponent?
Yeah, he's a good opponent. Like if you look at everybody in the PFL, every one of them are tough. They've all got different, challenges. Um, yes, it doesn't really matter who you get. Every fighter's going to be tough. They're going to have certain challenges. Natan Schulte, he's won it twice. It was a wee while ago now. We both lost to the same guy, Olivier. And yeah, I mean, he's well rounded. He's a good fighter. But I believe I've got the skills to beat him. And in 10 days' time, we'll find out. if who's the better man. But yeah, I'm ready to go.
You mentioned OAM, Olivier Aubin Mercier, obviously the champ last year. You fought him in the final. I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, and he said something basically that yourself and him and any of the returning champions or finalists really have it harder than any other fighter this year in their respective weight classes because you've had less time off. And I'm wondering if you feel the same.
Uh, a little bit. I mean, Natan, I'm sure he fought the same night as me. It wasn't quite the tournament, but he fought Jeremy Stevens. Um, Nah, I feel like I've had enough time off this time. I did balloon up in weight a little bit. I went to like fucking 205 pounds, roughly, just after Christmas. So yeah, I obviously got punished for that a little bit. Being so heavy, having to diet so much. It's been a long diet this fight camp. From I've pretty much by the time I make weight, it'll be like 50 pounds I've lost. So never made it easy on myself, I suppose, in terms of the weight. But as always, very disciplined. Always make weight. Always turn up in shape. Um, and yeah, I mean, I feel I enjoyed Christmas. I had enough time off. Don't get me wrong. Last year was tough, and like back to back fights. That's how I know that. I think thinking right now, I don't think I'll be doing a tournament next year. Obviously, everything can change. It depends on the money. It depends on what's on the table. It depends on how this year goes. But yeah, I think this will be my last year, so I'm going to smash it and give it everything I've got, and then take it from there.
Well, you mentioned earlier that you might have retired last year if you had won the million. Is that kind of what you foresee? Like if you get the million, you'll be comfortable going into retirement, and if things don't go your way, maybe you try and pursue those super fight divisions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm at a stage in my career where fuck, I'm fighting for money now. Not only money. Obviously, I still want to win. I still want to make a name for myself, but like I feel like I have made a name for myself. I've done a lot in the sport that I'm proud of. I've beat a lot of top guys. I've been in the UFC. I've been in the PFL. I've won titles. Um, I would still like to win like a world title in a major organization. So a PFL would be that. But the main thing that I'm fighting for is obviously the money to support and provide for my family. So if I won the million, then it kind of takes away why I'm doing it, if you get me. So yeah, if I won the million or won the lottery or something like that, then I'd most likely no fight again. Yeah, it's fucking folk didn't realize how tough this sport is. Getting punched in the face every day, getting the injuries, getting just even waking up to go and wrestle. How tough it is. It's different when you're training because you want to train, rather than you're training because you have to train. Um, Training's always more enjoyable when you're actually choosing to train, rather than because you have to. And like Muhammad Ali said, he said, he fucking hated everyday training. He always hated it, but he, what was it? Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. So, you're um, trying to get something out of it. Obviously, like I have achieved a lot from MMA, but um, yeah, winning $1 million would be like a cherry on the cake. Or winning a lot of money, winning the world title. It's hard to do the sport forever.
Absolutely is, and definitely appreciate the effort. I hope the fans do as well. When you talk about the injuries, and I mean, we always hear no fighter goes into a fight 100% healthy. When you retired briefly back a few years ago, I think you were having some issues with your knee, and I heard something about you maybe had some visa issues as well with a fight for the UFC. But how much was the health a factor in you stepping away?
Yeah, that's why I stepped away. I mean, I stepped away because the UFC kind of released me. Like it was like It was one of those ones. It was a weird one. I signed a 4-fight deal with the UFC. Then there was talks of me getting released because my knees weren't a quick fix. It was like it was going to be a long-term solution. So yeah, that was a very emotional part of my career. I was upset when that was happening. I emotionally retired, so it was more like I was kind of like, you know what, fuck the sport. I was almost angry, like pissed off, emotional. I retired. I then soon figured like I wasn't done, and I was also like, shit, what am I going to do with my life now? Um, I'm not really good at much else. I didn't want to just go and get an unskilled job and be on shitty wages. And what else am I going to do? So I was, and then the PFL opportunity came up. So it was more emotionally retired. Then I wanted to fight again pretty fast, but it was COVID and nobody was taking on. Shows were getting cancelled. So my kind of emotional retirement ended up being a lot longer because I wasn't even getting signed anywhere. All these shows were getting cancelled. So, and then the PFL opportunity came up, and then obviously, the rest kind of speaks for itself. I made it to the final, and yeah, I lost it in the final, but yeah, and then the journey continues. Next fight in 10 days.
Well, glad that you are getting a chance to go out on your own terms. Kind of would have been a bummer to see you go out just because COVID came along and there were no shows. Looking forward to this fight. Stevie, I really appreciate the time today. I'll ask you one more before I let you go. Just give us a prediction. How does this one play out April 14th?
I believe I will either knock him out or submit him um, within 3 rounds. I think within two maybe. But I know he is tough. I know he's not been stopped a lot. And he does kind of storm forward like a Terminator. He does look tough. He's won it twice. So like I'd be happy even with a decision win, 3 points, a win after obviously the last loss. But I do believe that I'm I'll be, yeah, I do believe that I've got the power to finish him though.
Absolutely. Well, Stevie, looking forward to it. Really appreciate the time today. April 14th. Best of luck in the fight.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Not a problem, Stevie. You have a good day.